KSTP presents
Melody.
From the Winter Carnival capital of the nation, St. Paul, Minnesota, station KSTP and the National Broadcasting Company present a program reflecting some of the spirit of this gay occasion. It's Carnival Week in St. Paul, and in the light-hearted mood that pervades this whole area, Leonard Lee has arranged the program with the usual cast of orchestra, voice ensemble, Flo Seidel, and Sidney Sudendorf. In addition, we shall present the nationally famous amphibian male chorus of Fargo, North Dakota, and Moorhead, Minnesota. Then, as a highlight of our broadcast, we have with us one of St. Paul's famous sons, Graham McNamee, who will bring you in just a few moments a word picture of a portion of the great carnival parade. But first, let there be music. From one of St. Paul's 7 snow-clad hills, one of the world's greatest parades has been winding its colorful way between rows of people 200,000 strong. The head of this long line of gaily clad marchers and spectacular floats is just entering the huge arena of the St. Paul Municipal Auditorium. What does this parade look like? For the answer to that, we give you radio's most famous voice in the person of Graham McNamee, who has flown here from New York's Radio City to take part in this, his hometown's annual winter celebration. To the auditorium now, and Graham McNamee.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the radio audience. This is Graham McNamee speaking this afternoon from the grand, beautiful auditorium at St. Paul, Minnesota, where we are here to attend the great Ice Winter Carnival of St. Paul. And it is real. There are more than 10,000 people in this great auditorium today, and the whole floor is covered with tan bark and dirt so as to make it just exactly like horses coming along. The parade has come into the building, and King Boreas VI has come among us. The king is dressed in a gorgeous white uniform with gold and blue trimmings, and plenty of gold and plenty of white and plenty of blue. The float itself is perfectly gorgeous. You know, in connection with this ice carnival is one of the greatest institutions of winter America, the Ice Palace. The Ice Palace is a beautiful thing to behold, but we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Let's concentrate for the moment on this very, very beautiful float of King Boreas VI. He's surrounded by his escorts, dressed as Russian hussars. Every member of the King's Guard is over 6 feet tall. There's a lot of them up here, you know. They make them big out here in Minnesota. And they must follow him everywhere during Carnival Week, which runs from yesterday to the end of the week, of the following week. King Boreas this year is Mr. Joseph L. Shiely. He's a St. Paul contractor. The King's float is supposed to depict the arrival of King Boreas out of the North Country. You know, in designing His Majesty's float, artists dug and really dug into the legends of Greek and into the legends of Norse mythology. You see, Boreas is supposed to be the god of the north wind, and he's depicted here on the float, Boreas with his terrific force of colossal rudeness, and he rules over his 3 brothers who control the other 3 winds, the east, the west, and the south. King Boreas has just stepped from the float and has gone up on the dais. Boreas has a lineage that goes back much farther than any other royal strain, for he's the great-great-grandson of old Aeolus, king of the wind. And so, on the float, you see depicted all four winds with Boreas on the throne. The float is about 40 feet in length, a tremendous thing, and it rises to about a height of about 12 feet. And it looks like a real Arctic afternoon. Extending from the front of the float are four figures of penguins. Later on this afternoon, we're going to see some real penguins here, too. In fact, it gives a general effect of the Arctic Ocean scene with huge icebergs and snow and everything that looks just like winter. Perched on the icebergs are a number of small polar bears. And, of course, the inevitable beautiful girls. We couldn't have a float without beautiful girls. And not all the beautiful girls are floating today. There's a number of them right in front of us here, and they look very, very lovely. They're the white satin girls who met us yesterday morning at the train. And to the rear on the float, King Boreas in his very beautiful robes. King Boreas himself is not so beautiful, but his robes certainly are. But he's a mighty nice fellow. He don't have to be beautiful. He holds the reins of three life-size figures of gorgeously prancing steeds. Now, just a little interruption. Fife and drum corps going by with one of the loveliest drum majorettes that you've ever seen in your life. Of course, you can't see her. Black-haired girl in beautiful white satin with silver belt and silver on her shoes, as well as around the collar, the helmet, which is surmounted by a grandly beautiful red cockade. But the effect of these prancing steeds on the float, the latter being embellished by generous use of silver ornaments. The king's throne is set off by a huge aurora borealis, very beautiful. The entire float is mounted on the chassis of a truck, all of which is invisible, of course, even to the extent of the driver, all perfectly concealed. I spoke something about the garb of the king. Well, Boreas the Sixth is garbed in a way that no other king has ever been garbed before. And here's another few more little majorettes passing us now with a lovely contingent of little girls. I imagine they're about 10 to 11 years old. There are about 30 or 40 of them with their little short dresses and all of a very beautiful blue satin. Now, the pointed cap is also blue with white as decoration. And now the little girls are doing gymnastics, turning cartwheels all the way around, while the girls in front, the three drum majors, are doing a grand job. Here's another fine fife and drum corps, led by about 12 girls. You know, there doesn't seem to be any homely girls out here in Minnesota at all. They're all beautiful. Well, I tell you, you know, it's a mixture of the Irish and the Swedes out here, and absolutely that's a great mixture. I was going to say mess, but that is not correct. Mixture is the word. But when you get these Irish and Swedes together, they either fight or have a great time. My goodness, here comes some more. Here's one of the biggest fife and drum corps, and with bugles that I've ever seen. They have a very beautiful green banner called the North Star Polar Club, I believe it is. It just got away from me. A couple of clowns right near us, and the drum major tossing his baton far up into the air. He is followed by a little drum majorette who is also in white flannel, this one is, trimmed with a very lovely gold braid. And the corps itself, let's listen to them as they go by just for a moment. By, and they're followed by another very beautiful, very, very beautiful affair coming along here, Jorgen's Winter Sport. It's all of white snow and evergreen trees with two ladies in waiting, all in green, sitting down in the front, and then a very beautiful queen in a delightfully artistic purple robe surmounting the entire affair. You know, the whole auditorium is thrown open, the tremendous doors at one end, and the entire parade goes right straight through the auditorium on one side, turns around, and goes out another great big side door. And we will shortly have some more of it. And you know, keeping King Boreas and his court in good festive mood beforehand, we had some very nice entertainment by the Minnesota State Band, St. Paul Choral Society, and the Great Northern Railway's Male Quartet. I really should be over-harmonizing with these troubadours, for I'm an honorary baritone of the quartet, and I'm eligible for one of the white variety sweaters with the famed mountain goat on the chest. The quartet and I were performers, we hoped, at the dedication of that great 8-mile Cascade Tunnel. And it's the 11th year, and today is the birthday of the great Cascade Tunnel out in the mountains through which the Great Northern trains run today. And now here's another beautiful corps coming along, another drum corps. It is led by five majorettes, and they look very delightful. All rather tall, slender girls, and they're in a green tunic and a little white short dress and white boots with a white hat surmounted by a green cockade. They're all swinging their batons, looking very fine, and I thought we saw the biggest of all the drum corps a little while ago, but this one is even bigger, and we'll listen to this one for a moment. Now, and we've hardly had an opportunity to speak of the beautiful Ice Palace, which is out in one of the garden spots of St. Paul, Minnesota. That is at Lake Como, where the people go in the evenings in the summertime to listen to the music and in the wintertime to skate. And now they've, on top of the highest hill at Lake Como, they've built this great Ice Palace, which consists of somewhere near 15 million pounds of ice cut from one of the lakes out near Como. Oh, here's a delightful float. Indian ceremonial dance is going on. They're puppets, and all of the puppets are wandering around this terrific, modern-looking iceberg as they go. That is a very beautiful and very satisfying sight to the eye. And now, if you'll excuse me just a second, I'm going up and have a little talk with King Boreas, and we'll put him on the air. Thank you. Yeah. Here we go. Go up and have a little talk with the king. He'll be here in just a moment. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you the king of all that's wonderful out here in St. Paul at this great Winter Carnival and Ice Palace. With no more ado, King Boreas the Sixth, and I want him to say hello and say a few words to you. King Boreas.
Hello, everybody. As Boreas the Sixth, ruler of the St. Paul Winter Carnival, I extend an invitation in behalf of my many subjects. To anyone within reach of my voice, come to St. Paul, come to our carnival. Today, the festivities just begin. There's more and more and more to come, and always the watchword is simply fun. Thank you.
Well, King, I'd like to ask you just one or two little things. How do you think it's going to be to go back into among the common flesh after this is over?
Well, it's going to be a hard job, Graham, but you had to leave St. Paul, too.
That's right, that's right. Well, I know that you'll still be royal yourself, although you may not have the title. We get down now and talk a little more about this parade. Thank you very much, Your Majesty.
Thank you, Graham.
Well, there's an awful lot of excitement around here. I didn't know there was this many drum corps in the world. I don't believe there are. I don't believe I'm really seeing them all. You know, St. Paul got a delightful break in the weather today. The temperature has gone up to about 25 above. Very lovely. Succeeding sub-zero weather. Here's a great crowd coming along now with, they're mostly men this time. Oh, there's a lot of nice, beautiful ladies mixed in, too. They're called the Home Brand, and they have a sort of a dark brown trouser with white sweaters, heavy jersey sweaters, trimmed with gold, and white caps with gold tops and a gold brim. A great deal of the parade has already gone out, passed through the other entrance, and will continue around the streets of St. Paul, where there are probably upwards of 300,000 people waiting to greet them. Everybody is having a good time. Everybody will continue to have a good time during this entire week. And right above me is the great mayor of the city of Minneapolis, who has come over here to greet his fellow townsmen, as we always do in one of the greatest cities in the world, which to outsiders we always call the Twin City. When we're here, we don't exactly call it the Twin City, but because the twins get cross with each other once in a while. But when we leave town, then we're always proud of both of those towns. And now here's the Field Slick boosting St. Paul for 84 years. And a very hot majorette is leading them with a very beautiful smile, all dressed in white with a high golden cockade. Let's listen to this drum corps for a moment. Another fine crowd coming along now with the initials SF on a gray silk shirt. That's FS, Field Slick. They have the long blue ski trouser on with heavy white spats and boots and a gray silk shirt. Very fine-looking crowd. I sincerely have never seen a finer-looking crowd of paraders in my life, and we've been talking about parades for a good many long years. You know, tomorrow we'll be talking about the Ice Palace, and we'll be out there, and we'll tell you all about it, something we can't do today on lack of time. Well, these 10,000 people here are most enthusiastic. They're having a fine time, and as I've said before, they will continue to have a good time. And now that's about all I can give you from this particular spot, the great auditorium in St. Paul at the opening of the Grand St. Paul Carnival. And oh, it's skating and skiing and fighting and dancing, and everybody just simply has a good time, and I guess that covers the ground. So, this is Graham McNamee speaking. We'll now take you back to KSTP. Good afternoon, all.
And carrying on from Graham McNamee's word picture, we turn to the official song of the St. Paul Winter Carnival, a tune that had its inception back in 1917, but it still carries with it the invitation to come to the carnival in old St. Paul.
Up to the carnival at old St. Paul. Everybody dressed up in carnival array. From Wabasha to Roberts is a great white way. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. The people one and all. If you want to have some fun, you'd better pack your grip and come to the carnival at old St. Paul.
There comes a time in any program for a quieter and more melodic interlude. For that character in this show, we turn to the voice of Sidney Sudendorf and the new tune, The Singing Hills.
The singing hills are singing tonight, and echoing a song of long ago. The singing hills were singing that night, that lovely night you said, I love you so. The wind in the valley joined in our sweet refrain, but now the wind and I, each night we cry, come
Among the great legion of visitors to the St. Paul Winter Carnival, we welcome the famous Amphibian Male Chorus of 75 Voices, a nationally famous organization which hails from another section of this country where folks enjoy their winters, Moorhead, Minnesota, and Fargo, North Dakota. With Daniel Preston directing, we turn to the Amphibian Chorus singing first the Scotch ballad, Marching Men.
March, march, and make a day, day, while the day, you march forward in order. March, march, and stay the day, all of the varmints along for the border. Many a bamboos friend, Lord, is above your head. Many a friend that is famous in story. Mountain be ready then, sons of the mountain men, fight for your king and our own sunny glory. Come from the hills where the horses are grazing, come from the rain of the walk and the roll, come from the crags where the beacon is blazing, come with the muzzler, the lance and the roll. Trumpets are sounding, horses are pounding. Stand to your arms, then we'll march in good order. England shall many a day tell of the bloody fray, where the blue bonnets came over the border. When the blue bonnets came over the border.
Time says another song from the Amphibian Male Chorus. It's the rollicking Cossack song, The Sleigh. To take the curtain down on a program that has been bowing to one of the nation's greatest winter festivals, Leonard Lee has made this arrangement of a winter fantasy for voices and orchestra featuring Flo Seidel.
Oh, a song by the fire, pass the pipes, pass the bowl. Oh, a song by the fire, with a skull, with a skull. Oh, a song by the fire, pass the pipe, the bowl, with a skull. January, February, winter, winter, when the jingle bells are calling. You to hurry, don't delay, come out and play, for everybody's happy when it's winter.
Well, our tribute from and to the St. Paul Winter Carnival has ended, but this event will continue for another week of fun. In addition to our regular cast of musicians, we have presented this afternoon the Amphion Male Chorus. And our special thanks go to Graham McNamee, who came from New York to his hometown, St. Paul, to take part in this carnival and to bring to you, of the radio audience, a description of the parade. But now, it's time for invitations to you to join us next week with Leonard Lee, the orchestra, voice ensemble, Flo Seidel, and Sidney Sudendorf. When KSTP presents
Melody
the program known as KSTP Presents. We've set aside another such interlude for you next Saturday at this time in the afternoon. The program was presented by KSTP, St. Paul, and Minneapolis. This is the National Broadcasting Company.